everyone. Welcome back to the Afters podcast. Today we have on a very special guest who landed here in Vancouver just a couple hours ago, hailing all the way from North Carolina. Monavent in the house. Welcome, welcome.
Hi, guys.
And Mazen.
Yeah, whatever.
Is always here with us.
And this guy.
Next. And we're so excited today to chat all about the North Carolina techno scene, Charlotte specifically, and producing and making shows, everything in between. So, Monavent, you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Amazing. So let's go back. Let's
Okay.
go all the way back. We obviously know you today as the Twitch DJ in Charlotte, but what is your first memory that you fell in love with music?
I fell in love with music.
Fell in love.
So I started raving back in like 2016, 2017 area. Like probably junior, senior year of high school. And was a huge bass head to start out with, followed around like Nightmare, Slander, Glitch Mob, went to all those shows and was like a true headbanger. And I was like, all right, this is not for me anymore. And
Your neck's getting sore.
yes. Then found house music going to my first festival in 2019, which was Buku Music and Art Festival down in New Orleans. Fell in love with house music, fell in love with like Dom Dalla, John Summit. I will admit the big commercial like house DJs.
You gotta start somewhere.
Gotta start
Gateway
somewhere.
drugs. Gateway drugs. Yeah.
Exactly.
These days.
And I'll still admit that I am 100% a Dom Dalla fan till the day I die, and that will never change.
No shame in that.
No.
But my first ever like music set at a music festival was Whipped Cream, which
Love
is a
her.
bass artist.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, this is totally different in a festival setting, a outdoor setting. Like, one, New Orleans is sick as well. So being in New Orleans was really cool. And then just being around so many like-minded people. Like, I've been to raves before, I've been to shows, and like I've done all that stuff, but being in such a large area with so many people that literally are there just exactly for the same reason that you are, I was like, all right, I found home, and like I'm never leaving.
Yeah.
And that's probably where I first fell in love with it, was in Buku, and then immediately started going to Buku each year after that, until they stopped recently. I think it was 2022. They announced that they weren't doing shows anymore.
Really?
Car theft.
Oh.
Car theft was at an all-time high every single time they hosted that festival.
Wow.
And they were like, the city police can't just handle this. Like, we don't know what to do anymore. So, like, for now, we're going to shut down. And they said that they're not going to be doing it until further notice. I don't know when they're coming back.
That's wild.
Interesting.
What a wild reason.
Never heard
What an
that.
insane reason.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. It was just Buku Music and Art Festival. Fell in love with festivals then. And like they had so much diversity at that festival that I was like, okay, cool. I just like the festival scene because they had rappers, Tame Impala, EDM artists, bass artists, all
It's
their...
like a Coachella, but maybe smaller. I don't know.
I would, take Coachella, but make it way less mainstream.
Yeah.
Way less mainstream.
Yeah, but they've got like that entire range of music from hip hop artists all the way to like
Indie bands, pop,
Yeah.
funk, like all sorts of stuff. And then after that, went to started going to Imagine Music Festival, then went to Electric Force Music Festival, then went to EDC, and I was like, all right, I'm never leaving. I was like, I'm never leaving this scene.
Yeah.
I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, this is insane. I was like, I do not want to like do anything else. I was like, this is my personality now.
Yeah.
And then like peak end of COVID, like when it was really starting, everyone was really starting to get back into the festivals. All festivals were starting to open up again. Shows were starting to come back out. I was like going to more and more and more, and I was like, you know what? Like, I played instruments for 10 years from fifth grade all the way up until junior, senior year of high school. And then I was like, I could do this. I was like, I could get behind a deck and figure it out.
Reach for a certain point, you're like, why don't I try?
Exactly. And I was like, I started looking up YouTube videos on just how to do it. Didn't have a deck or anything. Was like, I'm just gonna look up like tutorials. So I was like, let me just see how intricate this actually is.
Yeah.
And decided to just look up a bunch of YouTube tutorials because I'm a freaking nerd.
Yeah.
And did that, and then was like, okay, this seems simple. I was like, whatever. So backstory, long time ago, a few years ago, my truck got broken into, and I was a photographer for 10 years, and I had all of my photo gear in there because I was leaving. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, I have a camera tattoo for a reason.
Yeah.
And they broke into my truck, stole all of my camera gear except for the body of my camera and a drone that I had, and just thousands of dollars of gear out the window. It was like during COVID, so cops weren't like really looking into large, like smaller theft stuff like that. They were like, if it's not above $50,000, like there's literally nothing we can do. I'm like, cool. I was like
give the thieves like carte blanche to do whatever they want.
Oh, absolutely.
And
he was like, do you have serial numbers? I was like, dude, some of these things are 8-9 years old lenses. I was like, no, I don't even have the boxes for them anymore. And either way, but finally just got tired of them just sitting in my closet doing nothing, collecting dust, and I was like, I'm gonna just sell these and use that money to go buy a deck and start a whole new passion and start a whole new little side hobby, because I was like, I want to get back into the arts and stuff like that, and music and like visual arts. So decided to just take my camera body and was like, here, please take this. I need money so I can go be silly DJ. And took same day, went to a pawn shop, sold my camera body, sold the drone, hit up some dude on Facebook Marketplace. He was selling an FLX6, the white one, for like a great price. Met him the same day, left the pawn shop and met him at his house, and he sold me that DJ deck. I had that deck for probably 6 months, and then upgraded to an XZ. And I was like, I don't want the small one anymore. I want something with a screen. And did that.
That's a big jump.
Very big jump. Going from record box and seeing everything parallel and just running like that whole program and seeing your library in front of you to going to just two wavelengths or waveforms. And I was like, okay, what do all these buttons do? Like, what do all these buttons do? And then like once I got the XZ and really started like going into that and started watching even more tutorials and more YouTube videos on like what to do, when to mix, how to mix specific genres, really started falling into house and techno, and it kind of just blew up from there. And then Twitch started, and then the more and more I did Twitch, the more and more I fell in love with DJing, and then the more in love I fell with DJing, the more in love I was like, I want to go out and play in front of people. And then like started getting into so this was backtracking and jumping all over the place.
Please go.
When I got my first deck, I was living in North Carolina, and then moved to Texas due to work. Was out there for 6 months, and while I was there, I got the XZ, and that was when I was like really pushing Twitch. I was on Twitch for 5-6 hours a day, up to 4 to 5 days a week, every single week for 6 months. For 6 months straight. Oh, it was like I had class in the morning from 6 to 12. And then from like 12 to 9 p.m. almost every single day I was on Twitch. Like streaming or watching someone else's stream or just mixing in general. Perfecting my craft. And then I was hyper focused. ADHD, just hyper focused.
That one time in your life where it's a superpower instead of a hindrance.
Absolutely. And I lived alone. I didn't know anybody in Texas, and like I didn't really feel like going out and getting involved in the music scene when I was like, I'm not going to be here for that long. So like, plus I'm not good enough to be like involved in that. So I was literally just at home for hours and hours and hours just DJing, whether it be on camera or off camera, and was, again, like you said, obsessed. And I was like, I can't stop doing this. So got back to Charlotte, immediately started like hit the ground running with like talking to all my friends that are in the music scene. I was like, I'm ready to DJ. Put me on something. I don't care what it is. I'll play a 5 a.m. closing set at a freaking warehouse with 3 people. Like, I do not care. I was like, I don't care.
Do anything. I'll do anything.
And then my good friend Peyton, who runs Electric Theory, who I'm sure we'll talk about later, hosts an event at this place called Summit. And he was like, hey, we do family style decks stuff like from 4 to 6. Like, we just come bring your USB. If there's nobody on the decks, like, we'll put you on, or if there's like someone's been on for 30-40 minutes, like we'll hop them off and put you on and like give you 30-40 minutes, see how you play. If it sounds good, we'll talk about future lineups where you're actually on the flyer. I'm like, sweet. Went out there, played some like groovy house, like jazz house set, music I've never listened to before.
That's a good way to start.
No, absolutely. I was like, I've never played this music. Every single one of these songs has 0 plays. This is not the typical music that I listen to.
Yeah.
This is not the typical music that I play. I was like,
Yep.
but this is the vibe that's going to fit this area and this venue and like the people that come here. So I was like, I just got to do it. Forced myself to play nothing but groove house, and they loved it.
The
And they
fact
were,
you had it on the USB is clutch.
yeah. Well, I mean, I downloaded like 60 tracks, maybe 2 hours before going there.
Yeah.
That's, they don't have to know that.
You have them. You're prepared.
Exactly.
You have 'em. Yeah.
That was when I was using like 4K to YouTube, like SoundCloud rips, like, all that stuff.
Yeah.
All been there.
Before I even knew what Beatport was.
Yeah.
Journey.
And then just it kept going from there, and eventually got up on like a flyer lineup for Summit. And then like once my name got on the flyer, then like other people around the city were hitting me up like, hey, we saw you on Summit lineup, like send us a mix. We would love to see like if you fit our vibe. And then like other clubs started hitting me up, and then collectives started hitting me up, and then it just kind of snowballed from there to where my name has been floating around Charlotte for now almost a year, and like I can't go to a single club now without someone being like, yo, you're Monavent. Yo, you're Monavent. I'm like, no, my name is Wes, but pleasure meeting you. I'm glad you know me as Monavent.
Yeah.
And now I'm just incredibly hooked, and I do not want to ever stop.
Yeah.
So how many gigs have you played in the last 12 months and like actually?
So I counted it out for 2023. I moved back to Charlotte in May, and that's when I really started getting booked for everything.
Yeah.
And I think the total was like 112, something like that in 2023.
Jesus
But
Christ.
like I have to admit, like at least 80 of them were free. Like they
Right.
were not paid.
Yeah.
So which I still think for the first year of DJing, doing at
The
least
fact that anybody wants to even have you there is
exactly.
crazy.
And the fact that I did even
And that many
did
times.
10 gigs in 2023 was crazy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
But yeah, counting it out, I think it was around like just over 100. And that's from free shows to paid gigs to
Golly,
hosting
you're,
my
like,
own
doing
parties.
multiple times a week.
There were times where there was a 3-month streak where I was booked Friday, Saturday, Sunday of every weekend for 3 months straight. And it was like, this is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know who's talking about what or who's pulling strings where, but I was like, whoever's doing it, y'all just keep at it.
Something going on.
Yeah,
Something
and then
here.
just name kept floating around, and more people keep reaching out, and it just never stops at
Well,
this
that means
point.
you got something going.
There we go.
Something.
Yeah.
Something.
All those lonely days in Texas and
Yes.
They all pay
grinding
off.
it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it is one of those things. Like the more you do it, the better you get at it. You know, when you stop doing it, it goes backwards. You
Yeah.
know, it's like one of those
Absolutely.
things, you got to stay on top of it to like
Yeah.
keep it in your.
Especially the new gear, the new
Yeah.
music that you're playing.
Yeah.
So I guess going from, there's so much to unpack there, but
Oh,
even
yeah.
just the music itself. So even just touching on that, you said you kind of started with the bass house.
Yep.
Moving into
bass in general,
bass
yeah.
in
Yeah, I was a
moving-
dubstep,
Yeah.
straight dubstep for the first like 3 years of my
Yeah.
EDM
Been there.
career.
Yeah, exactly. What was it about that genre that really kind of like hooked you in and enticed you?
I mean, honestly, the drugs. I mean, like, if I can be like completely honest, like the drugs. As awful as that is to say, and like that's not what got me into the scene, but like I was like, wow, these like the bass shows, this is like really freaking cool.
Yeah.
And
Also,
I don't know,
like it was 2014. You said
2016 was like when I
16,
first started. Yeah.
Were the drugs peaking then? Were they like really
no, it's just
good?
different stage. It's a different.
I was 17, 18, 19 years old in high school
Yeah.
and was like, oh, this is freaking cool. And now I'm like, this is really stupid. So, yeah.
Things change, you know?
Oh, things definitely change.
For sure. So changing genres too, especially going and playing other shows that you didn't necessarily like. What were some of those things that you kind of like picked out that you're like, doesn't resonate with me?
I've gotten to the point where like I don't know the shift in bass to house to like techno was very long, like very long. Like I didn't get into techno until probably like summer of last year. And then all before that was just mainstream tech house, mainstream bass house, like your normal run of the mill festival music. And then from bass to that, it was like it wasn't more so of the sense of like I don't like bass anymore. It was just what I tell people is like, why did you switch? It's like, I just like to dance. I really love to dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, if I can just vibe out to music, like bass just got too aggressive for me. And like, I can do it in spurts now. And I definitely have a hard appreciation for bass music. But when I can just go into a festival, there's 1,500, 2,000 people at one stage, all dancing in the exact same beat. And like, we're all in the same wavelength. It's just something. It's just like, there's nothing like it. And I don't like anything outside of that.
Yeah.
And then so Tech House was like where I really found that, because I was like, everybody's dancing, everybody's moving, everybody's grooving. This is cool. And then started going into more genres of house, like minimal tech, progressive, the dark stuff. And then I was like, okay, there's like a dark and twisted side to things, which is a happy medium for me, because that's also what drove me to the bass scene.
That's
like
big time. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a very like dark. Body jewelry, tattoos, all black, like that's just my aesthetic. And it's like, even though when you meet me, I'm like the biggest teddy bear you'll ever meet in your life.
It's the duality.
And so that's where I fell into techno, because I was like, one, this satisfies my ADHD brain because it goes 150 ounces and it's great, but it's also like the aesthetic, the vibe, like everyone is there. I like, you've been to Germany and everything. There's no phones. Like everyone's there for the music, for the beats, for the DJ, for the experience. And
you're in the moment. There's nothing else to distract.
Exactly. And I
They're not
felt
there
like
to pick up chicks or whatever.
No,
it's just like
we're
music nerds.
Exactly.
There's
There's no ulterior motive.
Ulterior motives. They'll suss you out and kick you out sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what drove me away from house. Is like, one, it was just so mainstream. Like, I like house, don't get me wrong, but the very, very niche genres of house.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that mainstream, let's call it house music or tech house in general, is that like once you listen to enough of it, and especially if you're at home DJing 5 hours a day, you pick up on that pattern, and then it just becomes so repetitive. You know, and everybody talks about, oh, but techno's super repetitive. It's like, you're not listening.
Yeah.
You know, if you're like you know, no offense, a 17-year-old just getting into music, you're not going to know the nuances of what you're listening to in techno. But like, if you've been listening to all this music for so long, and you realize that the patterns in most tech house and house music is just very rinse repeat. Yeah, it gets boring.
It's very loopy.
Exactly.
And that's the same thing with like in the dubstep that you were listening to in 2016 and 2017, that era. It's so rinse repeat. Like
build up, drop, breakdown, build up, drop, breakdown.
Kill me now. You know, if you listen to dubstep in like the heyday between like 2010 to 2013, especially the really good stuff. Oh my god, there's so much sound design and like layering, and just like it's an orchestra of like aggression.
Absolutely.
An orchestra.
You know, so there's so many things happening at once, but you can pick out the different individual things.
And that's the thing with techno or even progressive or any of the more like, you know, repetitive genres. They're actually so not repetitive. You know, it's like you
have to listen closer.
Well,
you have to tune your ear as well.
The patterns are longer, you know, like with house music, patterns like 16 bars, 32 bars, whatever, is not really, it doesn't really go that far, you know.
With a techno track, you have an 8-minute techno track, and every 64 bars, you're adding a new element.
That's right, exactly.
And it may be repetitive, but like it builds up. A lot of producers, which is the progression of the track is just, it keeps making you ask questions. You're like, what else is going to be added to this that could make it even quote unquote better?
What's going to surprise you? What vocals going to pop out?
Exactly. And like, especially with techno, like it's very repetitive beats, yes, but like when there's vocal elements, or let's just go into the genre of acid techno, like you have so many things going on that come and go. That come and go, but it keeps you on your toes to the point where you're like, okay, obviously this drop is not going to be at all the same as the last one, and it just, I don't know, that drives me through it.
Into the present moment of that thing, because you can't anticipate what's going to come next. You can't plan your next dance move, plan your next Instagram reel. You literally have to be so present, because it will take you off guard.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the point.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we were talking about Paradise Blue off camera.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a rhythm tarot dubstep person today, and I went to that festival and I had the best time ever. But the problem was that I was still complaining about the music because I'd never heard any of those songs, and I could literally tell you what was going to happen as it was going to happen every time. So I was like, it's going to do this, and then the drop's going to literally be this, and then it's going to go into that, and it's going to literally be that, and you could literally do that the whole time. It's like everybody who's a producer there, I do put quotes on that, you can fucking at me if you want. Literally, you just took a track template
and copied and pasted 64 bars 3 times.
And add this beat here, this boop there, or that thing there, and that was they call it a fucking song.
If I can predict what's coming next in a track, it's poorly produced.
Exactly,
at least that's in my opinion. I know a lot of people are going to be like, "You're fucking wrong," and I'm like, I'm just saying, like, if your song is predictable, obviously it sounds like other stuff I've listened to, and that's not what I want from a track.
That's not original. I want to be surprised. I want to be taken off guard. I want to be taken on a journey, and I feel like that's what techno really gives you. Techno, progressive. You get on the train, and the conductor is the DJ, and it'll take you where it needs to go.
Fully agree.
And like, you know, for when a song is good and that big fucking sound, and it's like and unpredictable but awesome, that dopamine rush is pure addiction. And that's why
there's so many tracks that like I can just rattle off the top of my head that I wish I could go back and hear for the first time. Totally. Like just because
there's so many artists, so many sets as well.
Circa or not Circa. What's the Burning Man, Daft Punk 2011. That is like one of the that set is engraved in my brain for like the rest of my life. And it will never leave because one, that was like the first time America's really truly had a European DJ come to the States and play music that nobody's ever heard. And two, everyone fucking loved it. Everyone loved it. And they were like, this is crazy. Like, where has this been all my entire life? And I'm like, over the pond, dude. You just gotta like expand your search from whatever is popular now, but I don't know what was going on.
The thing is, though, that a lot of people, especially if you love music, you have to go on that journey that you went through. Like, you go with that thing that's like so easily digestible to the next thing that's maybe a different level to the next thing. Like, you can't just like, because for me, like when I first listened to electronic music back when I was your age,
little munchkins.
And you know, that was like, you know, you're talking about the early 2000s, so it was like trance,
just all
you know. And if I listened to
all
like,
trance,
but you know, and I listen or even like harder, like old school techno, but like, you know, when I listened to R&B and hip hop and pop music and rock and alternative my entire childhood, and I listen to that music, that's complete nonsense to me. Like, I just don't get it. You know, like it's just too many sounds. It's too much all at once.
And you're talking about rock alternative and stuff like that.
No. I'm talking about going from that to trance.
Absolutely.
It's like we're listening to trance.
It's like no, we're not.
I just don't have the ear for it. You know? And nobody really does. Kind of like the first time you hear. I mean, maybe I'm not going to say nobody, but a lot of people, if they come from the main types of music that are more vocal, set song structures, you know, all that kind of stuff, pop music, you guess you could call it. You know, to go from that to like dive in is like, ugh. But like for me, you know, I went from pop dance, which is like maybe Madonna and like stuff like that, like George Michael, it's stuff like that. That's kind of got a dancey flavor to it, but like still like pop music.
So much
to like to like the late 2000s, I was listening to like Ministry of Sound, like, you know, Benny Benassi and Eric Prince and all those guys from that era. That's more vocally, it's moving more towards dance and electro, but it's housey. But
in terms of gateway drugs, it's definitely a middle stepping stone.
But then for me, like 2010, you know, when I first heard dubstep for the first time, I was like,
what the fuck is this? Stop.
You mean it's rock music, but like better? Like, you know, it's like, you know, like I can headbang and dance to this. This is amazing.
This is great.
Best of both.
And then, you know, I mean, that was like when
robots made rock music.
So like I went from like this in like 2009 to like 2010, 11.
Like right up,
you know, like and
straight into the deep end.
Look at us now.
But then I went from dubstep to drum and bass, to progressive, to deep house, to tropical house even.
Love some jazz.
Okay, well, I went from hard to like you know,
straight back down.
down again, but like still kept like all that other stuff. But,
Yeah.
you know, so I'll listen to dubstep today. I'll listen to deep house. I'll listen to maybe not too much tropical, but you know,
little
you know,
tropics
whatever.
in there, little kayak.
The tropical house that's more like deep house than it is tropical house.
Yeah.
That's, you know, kind of what I'll listen to, and then
nice happy medium.
you know, it's like you still have the palette for all that stuff, but you get eased into that journey, and that's exactly what it sounded like when you were describing it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's like you're talking about exactly how I went through it, you know.
Within each genre too, it also evolves. So when you're listening to something, you know, when you're 17
Very true.
versus now, the same exact genre has so many more layers into it, or has so many more beats and bloops and everything like that.
Yeah, you know, and at the same time, I can listen to trance from, you know, a long time ago and enjoy it now.
Yeah.
You know, whereas I could not, like, when I was younger.
Yeah,
So
you didn't know what you were listening to.
I didn't know what I was listening to. So
Sometimes
it's like,
you don't see a masterpiece right in front of you. You get back. And,
there's just like I had to get comfortable with so many different layers that when you listen to a genre long enough, it's like, oh yeah, I expect that. Now I can enjoy the other stuff, the nuances.
And like also trance is just fast.
Yeah.
Trance is super fast. And if you're not used to fast beats like that, it's just gonna throw you off.
Yeah.
Because especially if you're coming from like I know dubstep is like at 140 or like 150
But it's
sometimes.
broken, so it's
But
like
it's broken.
half
Yeah,
that,
so it sounds very slow. But then you go into melodic house, minimal tech, progressive, tropical, where you're sitting around 118 to 125, and you're like, okay, this is still kind of slow. You go to trance where it's like 160 to 180. You're like, what is going on? My brain can't move that fast.
Increasing speed, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
crazy. So I guess moving into kind of the producing aspect of it too, which you really enjoy. What are some of the genres? First of all, genres that you're producing, and what kind of elements do you want to bring to that genre?
Okay, so I first started out with tech house, just run-of-the-mill tech house, because I had never opened Ableton a day in my life until about like maybe July of last year, and I had opened GarageBand like years ago, and then FL Studio years ago, like when it was still Fruity Loops, like still called Fruity Loops, and did that for a while, and I was like, okay, this is cool, making like little simple beats. And then I was like, all right, I really got to get into this if I'm gonna do anything with this music stuff. So opened up Ableton, started making just tech house, like pulled it up on one screen, had a YouTube tutorial on another one of like how to make a James Hype track, or like how to make a Dom Dollar track, like that kind of crap. And I'm like, all right, like this is simple enough. And then once I got the basics of like the software down, moved into making like really weird stuff. Like I have a rhythm track that I made that's not done, but it is rhythm, and it's rhythm. it's freaking rhythm. It's awful, but it's rhythm. And then I was like, okay, well, obviously me producing music that I'm not gonna want to play is just not gonna work, because like I'm not gonna make myself miserable. I'm not gonna go and play music that it's not me, and I'm not gonna I don't want to keep DJing shows that I just am up there and I'm bored.
You don't want to be known for those genres.
That
because
too.
they'll keep asking for that again and again. I've definitely heard of big, huge DJs who release their tracks.
Yes.
They don't want to play that.
And I'll get back. I'll touch on that too, because I've struggled with branding when it comes to Charlotte scene. But for now, I'm making nothing but like, I don't even know how to describe it really. Like 130, like 125 to 135, like really dark sci-fi, like minimal techno, like just really weird, like really weird techno.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah, imagine walking into like a biohazard chemical lab and hearing all of like the ambient noises, and then with like just really dark Berlin techno beats on it.
Okay.
Yeah. So like I just finished up a track, maybe when was the Backroom show? 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago I finished it like maybe 2 days before my show. And it's my longest track. It's 8.5 minutes long. And it's nothing but just minimal driving techno of just like weird sci-fi noises and like synth patterns, acid patterns. I just wanted to, I really wanted to test myself on Serum and like all my plugins that I have. And then I also wanted to test myself on creating my own sounds and not using like splices and sample packs and all that stuff. Because I was like, I don't want to just rely off other people's sounds because then it's never going to be my own. And
Originality.
yeah,
You
so
need
I was like, I'm just going to start making weird shit. And I was like, let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
And
with six kind of.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I just started making weird noises in Ableton and threw them into my tracks. I was like, yo, this sounds great. And played it out live for the first time 2 weeks ago. It sounded fantastic. It'll come out soon. Once
Very
I
cool.
like actually feel like it's done, even though it's been done for probably 2 months now, but it's
But it's
just
not done. Wait, but I can do one more
it's
thing.
like, wait, I dragged that kick out, which is like a half a second too long, and I'm like, all my friends are like, dude, you gotta stop overanalyzing this thing. Like, it's done, it's done, dude. I'm like, no, it's not. I swear to God, it's not.
It's like it's your first track. It's not your magnum opus. Like,
Yeah, like I was like,
let's put it out, and move on.
but that's the thing though. Like,
Yeah.
I'm such a perfectionist when it comes
for
to
sure.
things that I'm really passionate about. To the point where, like, if I don't think it's perfect, then obviously it's just not
I mean, that's the
perfect.
story of my
Yeah.
life. I totally
Yeah, I'm
get
like,
it.
I just can't do it. So, but no, it will come out soon. It's called Fading to Black. It is. I am very, very proud of it. I will say that, but
Awesome.
it's just scary, very scary. And to answer the questions of the elements that I want to put into my own music, I do love the people that are doing the old school 80s and 90s, like 70s, 80s, and 90s rock remixes of like Dom Dalla just did Black Betty. There's like Rolling Stones edits. There's Prince and Pink Floyd edits. Like, I'm like, I grew up listening to that. My dad was a huge rock fan. I owe 90% of my music knowledge to that man.
Yeah.
Grew me up on like some of the best, in my opinion, some of the best freaking music you can listen to. Like AC/DC, Kiss, Aerosmith, Chicago, like Boston, The Police.
I mean, unarguably.
Yeah.
like,
Yes, yeah,
there's no-
absolutely.
there's
And-
really no debate there.
Icons. Of
Yeah,
the time.
just exactly. And I want to put those elements into techno
Yeah.
if I can, because one, I don't hear people putting any type of modern day. Well, I mean, there's our modern day remixes of techno stuff, but like they're crap. I'm just gonna admit it, they're crap. And I don't hear anything from the 70s, 80s, or 90s going into techno beats.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I can bring the dark, like twisted sex, drugs, rock and roll of the 80s and 90s back into the dark, twisted sex, drugs, techno of today, like, I think they'd be a perfect blend. Now, have I found how to do that yet? No.
I think
Will I find how to do it?
If
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
crack that code, that's going to be very, very interesting because
Yeah.
it's like you're almost like you're mixing. I mean, in a sense, you're mixing vocal music with classical music.
Yep.
You know, so it's like, how do you marry that together and,
Mhm.
and make it sound like it works together? So,
Yeah.
I mean,
I
it'll
definitely
be.
think that's a very possible.
Oh, for
world
sure.
very,
I'm not
very
saying, yeah,
soon,
yeah. I'm
you
not
know?
saying for sure. I'm saying
Yeah.
it should be very interesting when it's pulled off. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Because imagine like a melodic track like Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd,
Yeah,
but with just a
just
one,
essentially already progressive. But
yeah,
maybe
just
not
a
to
one,
our speed or
just a
anything.
150 techno beat
Yeah.
behind it, just
Yeah.
like that euphoric feel of Pink Floyd, but like still technically a euphoric feel of those really hard hitting bass lines that you hear in German techno. I just think that they could blend really, really well.
Yeah.
And I may or may not be doing a Dark Side of the Moon remix right now, but
There we go. You heard it here first.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but that is nowhere near done.
Yeah.
Nowhere near
Baby
done.
steps, baby progress. You talk a lot about Berlin.
Yes.
What is your experience? What
None.
None.
None. I've never been to Germany.
Get outta here.
I am like from German
Leave.
descent. My grandmother is 100% German, came here during World War II. And like that would be like my only connection to Germany.
Yeah.
But like I just love the true Berlin deep driving, like just hard hitting techno. I don't know what it is, but the energy behind those shows are just absolutely unmatched. Like I said earlier, everyone there is there for the music, for the experience, and they just want to just rage for 4 to 5 hours at night and then continue it on if they can find a place to do it at.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just like how fast paced it is. It just, like I said, just scratches that itch in my brain.
Yeah.
ADHD.
Yeah.
It's so quick.
You need that. You need that
No,
so
it's the
much.
only thing I tell my friends, like, they're like, why do you like hard techno, dude? Like, it's way too fast. Like, it's just like, it's not, you can't even dance. I'm like, oh, I can freaking dance to that. I was like, that's the one thing I can dance to.
We're moving and it's fast.
Oh, yeah. I was like, if I'm just,
Yeah.
Again, it's like because you consume so much of that music the parts that people get hung up on, you kind of like, you're almost not even listening to that. You're listening to everything in between.
Yep.
So it's like, you know, your brain, once it knows those other patterns so well, it's not concentrating on those patterns. It's concentrating on what's the music inside it.
Yep.
And it's a different way to enjoy it. Like it's really cliche to say it, but you got to get used to it.
Yeah. It's an acquired taste.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to listen to those other gateway genres in order to get to that point.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I've definitely been at shows where different people are at different levels in their listening journeys too, and you can totally tell like which people are kind of on the top end and they're listening just to the bass and the kick line, and then some people are listening to those nuances and they're all kind of dancing together. And then I think it's the DJ's job to kind of identify, okay, what are these people all like? And then, you know, putting out tracks and taking them, everybody, you know, bring them in here, bring them in there, and then take them on that journey.
Yeah.
So I guess with all the techno and doing all these kind of shows that kind of span through a couple different genres, you mentioned branding yourself has been really tough in Charlotte.
So I primarily started out in Charlotte as just a run-of-the-mill tech house DJ.
And this was about 2022.
This was I started DJing in October of 2022. Yeah. Got my first gig. Well, I played the family style thing in December of 2022.
Kind of like the audition.
Yeah.
They said you can go up 40 minutes.
I played that set, and then literally the next day after, I had a flight at 8 a.m. out of Charlotte to go to Texas. And immediately left and was gone for 6 months. And then came back and had to completely start over, basically.
Yeah.
And then everyone was playing tech house. Everyone was getting booked for tech house. Everybody wanted tech house DJs. There really wasn't a techno scene, at least none that I knew of at the time. And to be honest, there still is a very tiny techno scene in Charlotte.
And before this time, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
Were you going to a lot of shows in Charlotte?
Yeah. So
like seeing what was the landscape kind of as you were getting into?
So the landscape going into, so we have a lot of afters companies in Charlotte. One being, we have House Vibrations. They host normal shows too. They host very big shows. We're talking like Clooney. We just had Leighton Giordani last weekend. We've had Drazo, Habstract, Knock 2, ISO. Wow. Any big name touring artist that you can think of, it comes through to a venue that we have called Black Box. One of the biggest venues
like
that
the equivalent of Blueprint, I guess.
Maybe, yeah.
It's literally just a black box. It's a massive. It's an old. It's a decommissioned movie theater that got turned into a music venue. It's actually
do they have liquor licenses usually?
Yeah, yeah.
That's probably why there's so many.
Yeah, so this one's like a full like club kind of thing. They run till 2.
So that's on afters.
No, not an after. So the afters ones now, they do House Vibrations. The owner of House Vibrations, his name's Johnny. Great guy, fantastic guy. He runs an afters things called Techno Vibrations, and they strictly now only do techno afters because he is very big into techno, like one of the only other people that's really into hard techno in the scene. And he's got like that little niche like on lock, and that's his, which is totally fine.
Yeah. That's a cool thing about being so specific with a genre is you can easily own it in that city. That's why Gorg here is so famous, is because it literally, we're just playing this for like
Nothing
20
else.
years, and then so everybody, it's famous around the world for it. Anyway, go
Yeah. And then we had a company called Overcast. They were running parties for a long time. Electric Theory, the company that I help out with a lot, and one of my really, really good friends, Peyton, and his girlfriend, Bay, they run that. They host all sorts of shows. Like, they're very for the community, by the community. This is like, we want to put together a event where people of like-minded ideas can come together and just have a good time. And that's why they are doing so freaking good in Charlotte with their stuff. And then they have Electric Theory, which is their main events, and then they have After Theory, which is all of their after party stuff. And then we have Charlotte Underground. We run normal shows and we run afters as well. We're branching into afters. I will admit we've had a slightly rough start with our afters. We're trying to get our foot in the door with like warehouses and places that we can throw these things legally without cops getting involved, and like just safety reasons, because like some of the places that we've done have just not been the safest, because like we threw a rave in an abandoned school, like broken down ceilings caving in, like abandoned school. Was it dope as shit? Absolutely. Was it the safest thing we could have done? Absolutely not. Like no. Like we didn't have working bathrooms in there, and like it was just very, very underground. And we're trying to like be more professional. So but like we brought on artists, like we have Sweet Tooth coming, we have Perry Wayne coming. We've done stuff with if you're familiar with Warzone, rhythm artist, he's 17, blowing up in North Carolina, absolutely killer DJ. We've done stuff with who else have we done stuff with that's on the bigger side of things? We had one of our DJs just opened up for Hesh in Virginia. We've got people playing shows we've got like 6 DJs that played Breakaway last year for their silent disco. Like we've got people all over the place with their foots in every door. And Charlotte Underground is basically it's a massive music collective based in Charlotte, where we have three runners that run the whole thing. That is Oxide, Tanzanite, and Ditorius. And they run this basically as, we are a company that provides shows, and we can do event production, event coordination, event management. We have DJs, we have equipment, we have everything that you would basically need to run a show without your headlining DJ. But we also have like investors and private equity where we can invest into a headliner for you, or we can work with you if you have a headliner in mind, and then we can provide a local lineup.
Crazy. That's like a crazy service.
And then we just recently got in touch with a company called Novus Group, which is a production company that like basically runs some massive events around Charlotte, just production wise. And we're trying to team up with them to have them as like our main production team, so we can have production on lock, DJs on lock, event like management on lock, and then all we have to do is just find venues and book the artist, and like that's pretty much all we have left.
So who's the main client for that then? The target client, I guess you could say.
Venues in Charlotte.
The venues themselves.
Yeah, venues in Charlotte. So like we basically say, hey, we have a local lineup we can provide. Hey, we have funding that we can provide to book this DJ such and such. If you would like want this show to be at your venue, let's talk dates. We can provide production, lighting, sound, DJs, everything, the whole nine. All we need is your venue. Obviously, you will get liquor sales and get ticket sales on top of that. And then obviously it's very well, like it's good branding for you and your club. So we've been doing that recently with about 3-4 different venues around Charlotte. We're trying to expand, and then once we get a little bit more money in the bank, we're trying to get our own warehouse so we can do our own afters, and then we'll grow from there for event production. And then the end goal is to have our own festival, like obviously further down the road. But
do you guys do the promotion as well, or is that co-opted with the venue? Or
we do promotion, we do everything. We build flyers for you. We'll do like the collective's made up about 35 to 36 people, ranging from producers, DJs, like graphic designers, event staff, sound management. We have VJs, we have sound professionals, we have people that run LED walls, we have people that are in our collective that also work for other outside like third-party production companies that come and do stuff for us on the side. We have like street teams. We have people that run around Charlotte with flyers and stuff, posting up flyers, talking to other people at local other shows, being like, hey, we have this coming up, like this is our flyer, here you go if you would like to come.
That's why I love Americans, because they're so entrepreneurial. Like nobody in Canada would be like, let's do this but as a business. You know what I mean? Like without like a venue or like whatever.
We need like a contract signed that we're like, I guess I'll get out of the bed. I guess I'll get out of the house.
Like to think about what you're doing, like I'm just thinking about that in the concept of like how things are done here. There's nobody doing that. Like it's like we literally can hand you all of everything needed to throw a party. You just gotta have a venue. Because for us, the venues just they do everything. So like the venue has the promoting, the booking, it's all like in-house, right? So to have that as a thing where you could like, we could do this at any venue. You could even do like, you know, the government could be like, we want to throw a party, or
we could do some
some corporation could be like, we want to throw a big party once a year, whatever. You
Yeah.
could literally just call you, get it all done.
Yeah.
You know, and
That's very
and
cool.
you know, and even like I'd imagine if you do that a couple of times successfully at any club, they're gonna be like, we're doing this every weekend.
Yeah, so
Definitely.
we actually do, like, there are multiple people in our collective that have reoccurring shows, me being one of them. We have, I mean, we have one coming up here soon in the next couple of weeks called Crystal Caverns. It's hosted by one of our presidents of Charlotte Underground. It's a strict, like, hard dance, hard style, and, like, the really, really rough underground music show. And, like, that's for that genre. And then I have my backroom show, which is strictly hard techno, hard groove, and, like, Berlin style club vibes. And then we have people that run Revival, which is a bass show. We have people that are running what's the other one that we're running at the moment? Revival. Oh, we have Drum and Bass Thursdays that we're doing at a different venue. We have, like, everyone's starting to build their own shows. And then, like, another guy in our collective, he's hosting the Sweet Tooth show. If you're unfamiliar with Sweet Tooth, he played Lost Lands this past year. Pretty good dubstep rhythm DJ. And then Perry Wayne as well.
So how many people attend? Like, how big is the audience? Because it sounds like there's so many different small collectives, and you've got still the big overarching company that puts it on. Do you have enough people to come to these things?
No. No. The EDM scene in Charlotte is very small. Like, everyone knows everybody. You can't go to a club without seeing at least 5 people that you saw at the last club you were at 20 minutes ago.
So people kind of like club hop.
Oh, they all the time, because there's 15, 16 different venues in Charlotte that host anything that has to do with EDM, house, bass, techno, wubs, whatever you want to call it. I mean, we have the Rabbit Hole, Rebel, Trio, Eden. We've got Crown Station. We have all the warehouses that run shows. What else do we have? We have Black Box that run shows. Like, there's so much to do on weekends, to the point where we have, like, some other random person who I don't know who they are runs an entire Instagram page just called Charlotte EDM, which is dedicated to showing you all of the EDM events that go on every weekend. And it's like they build a whole schedule every single weekend. They'll give you the name of the event, where it's at, the price of the tickets, the time it starts. And
Sounds way better than what we've got going on here.
There's just so many, but I mean, like, it sounds like there's not enough people to kind of go.
that's where we're running into issues, is, like, there's so much going on right now. You'll have 3 house events with 3 big name local DJs.
Segmenting the audience.
Exactly, with 3 big name local DJs all headlining at the same night at the same time, and you're like, well, where the hell do I go? And it boils down to, do I like this person more and the people that they bring, or do I like this person more and the people that they bring? And then, like, are my homies going to be there, or are my homies going to be there? And like, it's not even about the music anymore, because, like, they have so many options that they can literally go to 4 or 5 different places. They're going to get the exact same music that they want to listen to, but they're all about, like, do I want to go to this club because it's going to be like this vibe, or do I want to go to this club because it's going to be this vibe?
If you don't have enough people to support that much segmenting, then it just becomes a little like, you know, one week this group will win, and the next week that group will win, or the next week none of them will win. They'll all get just, like, kind of meh.
No, that's how it goes. Like, so the local shows literally have to compete with, like, we'll just use Black Box, for example, because we'll just use, and, like, there's nothing wrong with this. Obviously, this is going to happen. Like, clash is going to happen, and like overlap and whatever. But to the point where, like, we have a Black Box show as a very large bass artist, we'll just say that, then you already know that all of the afters are going to be bass, because Black Box is controlling the crowd that night, because everybody's going to be at the largest venue looking at the largest artist. So then all the afters are going to be bass. And then the same next weekend, Black Box will throw techno, and then all the afters are going to be techno. And you're picking between 3 to 5 different freaking after parties, all the same genre, of the same genre you just listened to for the past 4 hours.
Which is maybe a little bit silly, but
it definitely is. And it's just to the point where, like, we're trying to figure out how to carve out smaller niche genres to provide more diversity. More variety in the scene, because, like, obviously, if there's 3 house shows going on and someone doesn't like house, like, we need at least 1 or 2. We need at least, like, 1 bass show and 1 techno show.
You're not getting their ticket sale.
That's why, you know, like, we have Red Room that just does bass music. We have Van Tech that just does techno. It's great to have that, because you know, like, the people who want that they know that it doesn't matter who, they don't need to look at the poster.
No.
I know I'm going to
They
listen
can
to
just
that
trust
when I
that
get
when
there.
I go,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always had this complaint here when we have like, you know, my big issue sometimes is like when there's nothing going on one night and then everything's happening on the other night. It's just like, come on, we're all friends here. Can't we like coordinate a little bit? You know, it's like,
Or put out a poster, like talk amongst ourselves. Like, who's doing what?
I mean, I always not joke, but I complain. I guess you could say that we should everybody should be part of a group chat that has a spreadsheet that's like, you know, you enter in your dates of what you're doing, and it doesn't mean that you block that out. It's just that if I'm a promoter and I see that there's 3 house shows on Saturday the 5th,
I'm not going to add a 4th.
I can make the decision. Do I still want to do my house show on the 5th, or should I put it on the 4th where there's literally nothing happening?
Exactly.
You know, it's not like if you're doing it this, you have to not do it on that. It's just like, you know, if we can all see what everybody's calendar is in one place, then we can make a more informed decision. Not if we do or don't feel like it's necessary to compete on that. You know, and I've talked to, you know, we've talked to people that we know in the industry, and they said, well, we're kind of doing that. We have a group chat and all this, but then it just happens every weekend.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, again, like, you know, we'll talk about this later in the weekend update. It's like, well, last weekend was insane. The weekend before that was crickets. And it's just like
Literally
it's
absolutely
like,
nothing
happening. Yeah, and it's just like,
Yeah.
come on, guys. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
It was the same for us. Last weekend we had, I think, 7 shows all on Saturday night.
Yeah.
And 4 of them were house shows. One of them was techno, and the other 2 were bass.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's some good diversity, but that's 7 freaking shows going on in Charlotte, like on one night.
Yeah.
And but like the Friday night beforehand had 2, and then
Yeah.
the Sunday night after that had 1. I'm like,
Yeah.
what are y'all freaking doing?
Yeah.
And then the weekend before that, there was like 2 on Friday,
Yeah.
1 on Saturday,
Yeah.
2 on
Yeah.
Sunday. I'm
Yeah.
like, y'all, like,
Yeah.
who's in charge of your scheduling? Like, what's going on?
Charger. I'm going to talk to the manager.
Talk to them.
Be a freaking Karen
Yeah,
about
I mean,
the
that's
scheduling of
just getting
EDM
the whole
shows.
industry to work together as a whole, and it's a little bit counterintuitive sometimes because they are competing with each other.
Yeah.
But you're not competing with each other if you're trying to work with each other. So it's just this like.
I mean, there's always going to
back
be
and
competition.
forth.
The thing is, it's not necessarily a zero-sum game because, like you said, if there's 4 house shows going, I am a house guy.
Yeah.
Hypothetically.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm just kidding. Anyway. If I'm a house guy and I'm like, well, I really like all of these artists and all these different venues, and I can only do 1, maybe 2. I can't do the other ones. And then tomorrow I've got nothing that I can go to. I wish I could have taken these other 2 and put them there.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's never going to be perfect, but it's like, you know, if I'm a promoter and I see that there's already 3 house shows on this date, maybe I'll just not do it on that date.
Yeah.
Or you know what? If there's like 3 house shows that are all locals, you know, and I have Dom Dollar coming through and he can only do it on that date. Well, that's what we're doing. You know.
Yeah.
You know what?
Exactly.
It's just it is what it is. You know, and you know maybe the other shows will suffer, but it's just the way it goes. You know, it's just like. But at least you have the option.
Yeah.
You know, you can look at that and be like,
for local shows, you should be thinking about it twice as hard as
for sure, yeah, because you know, exactly, because it's just like, you know, you're gonna like just like you said, like when you go out, you're gonna see, you know, 10 or 20 people that you see every night.
Yep.
It's the same thing here. You know, like if we go out, like I don't ever call somebody and say, hey, you want to go to the show with me? Why would I do that?
You already know you're gonna be.
Why would I do that? I'm gonna go there and know 15 people.
What time am I picking you up? Is
Not
what you
even.
say.
Well, not even. Like, I don't even do that anymore. Like, I'm just so lazy. I just show up and it's like, oh, I know everybody here.
No, that was me literally last Saturday.
Yeah.
Like I went to a show knowing that like I was like I didn't ask anybody that if they were going. I already knew that like 5 people were gonna be there that I knew.
Minimum.
So I didn't even ask anybody if they were gonna be there. I just showed up by myself and I like walked in. First 5 minutes, shook hands with 3 people that I've seen before. I'm like, oh hey. I was like, I figured you'd be here.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like, I mean, just anecdotally, a little bit funny. I was like, I'm gonna go to this show when I went to Mexico.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I can go to Fisher where I know there's gonna be a bunch of people there, or I can go to Mathame or Mathame. I still don't know how to fucking pronounce Mathame. And I don't know anybody who's going there. And I was like, well, I know that's the music I want to hear. I'm just gonna go. I don't care if I don't see anybody there. I'm just gonna listen to the music. As soon as I get in, I see 3 people I know.
Yeah.
First 2 seconds that I'm in the venue, I'm like, it's like it's okay. It's gonna be okay.
When you like the same music, you're gonna find your people. You're gonna find your fam. Okay, so with all that in mind, that is the Charlotte landscape.
Yeah.
Going back into you, the question that I asked before was,
Everything's so sidetracked. My ADHD brain cannot keep up.
It's fascinating. I'm keeping up a little bit. So with the getting into that Charlotte landscape, you first did that first show, took off to Texas, came back, branding yourself and playing the shows that you want to do. How is that journey for you?
At the moment, it's been tough. Considering that I am like, I know I'm sure there's others, but like, I am one of the only like hard techno DJs in Charlotte that truly brands themselves, at least now, like now I'm definitely doing it, brands themselves as a hard techno DJ. Like I want to only play hard techno or like a hard minimal or really weird deep sci-fi like minimal tech. I don't really take house shows anymore. Excuse me.
Problem drinking carbonated.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, God, carbonated water just coming back and kicking my ass. I don't really play house shows anymore, unless they're like for someone that I know that I'm like, okay, I'll totally play for you. And I know the crowd will be good. I also don't really play any bass shows, which is I want to change because I really do want to get into dubstep and rhythm and stuff like that. But going into a scene that is very, 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 very niche, at least in Charlotte, and branding myself as like the epitome of that scene in Charlotte has been very tough. So I have just started creating my own shows. And I was like, I know that really no one else is playing this music. I know that there's a want for it because I have people tell me all the time, they're like, dude, you're like the only person that really plays like that type of techno. When like, where are the other shows that do this type of techno? I'm like, dude, there are none. And I'm like, the most hard techno we'll get is like driving hard groove, which is great. Like I love driving hard groove. It's really good. But I want that really just like Nico Moreno, Sarah Landry, like Azer, Shlomo Tapian, like the really exactly the sweaty industrial like just dark stuff that just has that hardcore energy that like just doesn't exist in Charlotte. So
you're gonna drag that industry into it kicking and screaming, mark my words, and they're gonna love it. It's not gonna be quick, but they're gonna love it.
And like it's just to the point, like each show that I host with hard techno, they get better and better each time. More and more people keep coming up to me telling me like, hey, we need more of this in Charlotte. I'm like, that's what I'm trying to do, homie. Like I was like, that is what I'm really trying to push. I was like, just keep showing up, keep promoting these things, keep showing your support, and I promise you it will grow.
If 5% of your audience brings one person every time, you're gonna be huge in a year.
Absolutely.
So it's like,
definitely.
But I will admit, to get booked in Charlotte, I've had to take mainly house shows, and like, but recently with the ones that are house shows, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take the ones where I can play the house that I want to play, which is minimal tech, tropical house, like that deep jazzy like Amapiano stuff. That stuff that's just really, really like, I mean, I hate to use this word to describe it, but it's exactly how it is. Just that real sensual house.
For sure.
And
love that shit.
Same. Like if I can just sit there and just get lost in the music and like just absolutely just vibe out to it, then like I'm gonna love it. Either that or if I'm gonna be moving really, really fast, like techno and drum and bass. So I've had to brand myself, or like at least not really brand myself, but like tell people like, hey, I played this, but if you're looking for this, I can play it too. And most of the time they're like, well, hey, we're looking for this kind of vibe. And I'm like, of course you are. Of course you're looking for tech house. Like that's fine. And I was like, I get it. It's a club in Uptown Charlotte. Like they want to listen to like the bad bitch, like hot girl tech house, like remixes and stuff like that. I'm like, that's cool. Like that's fine. I was like, if it gets me in the door and like gets me the connection, I'll play it. I don't mind playing it. I have fun playing it. Is it what I really want to play? No, but it's gotten to the point where like people are like, oh, this dude doesn't play hard techno, and I'm like, no, but I do. I host shows that are strictly hard techno.
You should just like in the middle of the set slide in one hard techno song.
I've done it.
Everybody remembers, and they go.
I've done it. I've done it. I did it. There was a set about 2 months ago. It's called Groove Lab. It's a homie of mine. Her name's Tay. Like she runs that. It's in Winston-Salem in my hometown, which I freaking love that she's bringing EDM to Winston-Salem because there's none whatsoever. And played on the first one she hosted, And I went from freaking tech house to bass house to drum and bass to deep 40, like deep 140 wubs, back to tech house, back to drum and bass, then to like it's some minimal groove, like hard dance stuff, then back to tech house, and like everyone was freaking loving it. I'm like, I was like, I love the fact that you guys are so okay with DJs coming in here and like just showing diversity and not getting mad when like someone drops a drum and bass track in the middle of a tech house set. Like your favorite DJs do it during all their freaking lineups and like all their that's what I bring him up so many times because this topic just makes me so freaking mad where like local DJs get shit on for switching it up a little bit because everyone there is expecting just a strict tech house night. Like, I just want to listen to this type of tech house for 5 hours straight.
But
and
you don't.
No, but
As
you don't.
a listener, if you're uneducated, you don't want to listen to that.
And there's been so many times where I've like been doing like hard bass house sets and I've dropped like a drum and bass track and like everyone just like stops dancing. I'm like, dude, I was like, if I was John Summit right now, you'd be losing your freaking mind. And I'm like, but I'm not. I'm just a local DJ that like happened to drop drum and bass, and you're just mad because like I killed your vibe. And I'm like, it's just because you're not in a festival setting on drugs. So I was like,
you're not
whatever.
listening.
Exactly.
Do you find in the scene there, because obviously one of the issues with, and this is a bit of a segue, but one of the issues with electronic music in general is that people don't drink as much, at least here. So, you know, a lot of like in the past, nowadays it's gotten a lot better, but in the past when promoters or club owners have been trying to focus on electronic dance music of any kind, the nights don't last. There's a big influx of like people who want to do it at the beginning, but then as it becomes more and more, you know, keeps going more and more, they realize that the club's not making as much money because these people drink water all the time. So it's like, you know, it's like, okay, well,
dude,
we play, you know, the one night that we still play mainstream music, we're making $80,000 at the bar, and then the nights that we're playing house music, we're making 10. And it's like,
it's not the places are not incentivized to keep that
you know, and we've gotten very lucky here because we have Blueprint, and they've really, you know, forced it down our throats, thankfully. So, but at the end of the day, they also still have to have mainstream nights in order to pay the bills. So I'm just wondering if it's kind of similar to that. I'm not sure how much you're in. I mean, you must be into the business side of it a lot if you have that thing. So
with Charlotte, and you'll hear so many people say this, Charlotte is a very last minute city. And what I mean by that is like, you can post a show 3 months in advance. No one's going to buy a ticket until 2 nights beforehand. No one.
Vancouver.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you have too many things going on at once. They're waiting for the absolute best option at the very last minute. It's just, that's the problem with that. And also, like, luckily, we don't really have that problem of, like, the drinkers, because I will admit, Charlotte's pretty fratty. Which is great. I mean,
and it's a college town because we have University of Charlotte right there. We also have, like, other community colleges in the city as well. And then, like, it's a big bar town, like big bar city. So many freaking breweries. Like if you work in Charlotte, you either own a brewery or you work for an accounting firm. That's what it is. And it's true. Like
in Vancouver, you're either a DJ or a drug dealer. That's basically what it is. Or you work in finance.
So like it's just to the point where everyone rushes last minute to buy a ticket to where they want to go, and it forces promoters to always pick the biggest name DJ in the local scene because they know that they're going to sell the tickets, because the only place that hosts shows that don't have big, or that like the only place that hosts shows that has massive name artists is that one place, Black Box. Everywhere else is your local little club, your local little bar, and like you have to get a event coordinator to come in and host the show with local lineups, and like they're always going to pick the lineup that brings in the most ticket sales because like they're obviously not going to be invited back when 95 to 150 people come into this place, half of them to 3/4 of them on psychedelics and not drinking, and like they're going to be like, oh cool, like they got ticket sales and they came in here because these people are fucked up and want to see the DJs that they always see, knowing that they're going to have a good time. And then it leaves a lot of the other DJs who are quote unquote smaller in the scene kind of like high and dry, because obviously they don't have the ticket pool right now. Like like, sure, they're talented as fuck. They can play the music that you want them to play. They can probably play it better than some of the DJs they're putting on to these big name clubs.
Totally.
But since they don't have the pool, the clubs don't give a shit. And like, it's just to the point where like you kind of feel stuck as a DJ that's not in what we were talking about earlier, in the clique, because all of those clique DJs are going to get booked, even though half of them are shit. But like they know who they need to know, and they play what they need to play,
and tickets get sold.
Yeah, and tickets get sold. So
and
like
the drinks got drinks.
and then the drinks get drink.
Sure.
Exactly. So there is a stalemate with that. Yes, it does pose a problem sometimes, but it all depends on the show.
The genres are definitely, there's differences between different genres.
Yes, and like you will get like, if there's a bass show in Charlotte, I don't know what it is, dude, but it's packed out every freaking time.
Yeah.
Like their bass is just prominent in Charlotte. Like in the little collective scene that goes to these bass shows, they run deep.
Yeah.
Like they are always there, always at the shows promoting, helping out. Like even if they're not promoters or like don't even work with the collective,
they'll
like
call their friends.
they'll call their friends. They're posting it on their Instagram stories. They're throwing flyers out left and right, and they're like, "Come to this." But like the techno scene, non-existent. Like you post up shows, nobody's reposting that shit. They don't care because like, and it's so hard to get techno shows in the right venue too, which makes it even harder to push those shows. And then like, the only ones that we can really get right now is like Latin house and like mainstream tech house shows that are in like the big name bars around Charlotte. So, to answer your question, yes and no.
There's definitely like what you're talking about, even with those genres, like pre-COVID, that was a lot of what was going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Post-COVID's a different story, but pre-COVID, that was definitely where, like, okay, well, even fucking, what's it called? The one in Gastown, what was it called again? The club
MIA.
MIA.
Yeah.
In order for them to make money, they had to have like a Latin house night, just to make ends meet.
Yeah,
every
Red Room
Friday.
has Latin House.
Yeah.
Fridays.
Yeah,
I think.
exactly. Yeah, and that's a bass club, so it's like it's so it's still happening a little bit, but it's like I mean, and nothing wrong with that. It's just shows. It just goes to show you that these places, especially when you're in big expensive cities, in order to make money, they need the margins that alcohol provides.
Yep.
I mean,
and they
I
need
feel
to
that
brand their
goes with
demographic correctly.
anything too that you want to do, you have to have your day job, and then you have to have your passion. It's just like these places, the venues
Exactly true.
have to have
that's
their
kind of a parallel,
have to have their day job, and then they get to play the shows that they want to play too. Yeah. So I guess like within that, where kind of do you want to either push yourself? Well, let's ask both of them.
Amazing. Why are you breaking things?
I guess, where do you want to push yourself in the next couple of years? Like, where is it that you want to progress into?
So, okay, this is going to start kind of sad. It's going to sound sad, I promise, but it's going to have a better turnout.
Okay.
So, I've just gotten to the point where, like, don't get me wrong, I love Charlotte music scene. I started in Charlotte music scene. I owe everything to my DJ career to Charlotte music scene. I no longer want to be involved in Charlotte music scene as much as I quote unquote think I need to be to progress. So recently I've been reaching out to other cities in North Carolina, like Wilmington, Asheville, Winston-Salem. We got stuff going on up there now. Greensboro, Raleigh, all those places. So I can like at least step out of just Charlotte. And then if I can't do that, with hard techno, with it being such a niche genre, I will even say in the States, like it's not as big as it is in Europe and everything like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
I am gonna be forced to like try to go the European route, and
nothing wrong with that.
And like we'll use Sarah Landry for an example. She's American DJ, hard techno, like hard as fuck techno. She just got booked to be the first hard techno DJ to ever play on a Tomorrowland main stage.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is insane. And I'm one, fantastic for hard techno.
Yeah.
And two, like if an American DJ from the States can go over to Europe and just absolutely crush hard techno over there, like who says I can't do it too?
Totally.
And I mean, you have places like Denmark, who has 1,100 festivals a year.
That's
they have
bonkers.
they have it's like 47 festivals.
1,100
Yeah, and you
festivals
You
a
watch
year?
these James Hype shows, and he goes to literally so many festivals in a weekend. Like,
Yeah.
boop, doop, doop, there
You
are
can-
a lot.
you can
And
drive-
it's
there's-
packed, and it's sold out.
Yeah.
There are people there that want it.
It was-
with this face. My brain literally
can't
cannot
comprehend that. Yeah,
I can't compute that.
yeah. The math at end
I
of
don't
it.
even think America could support 1,100 festivals a day.
No.
But these aren't all like EDM festivals, but a lot of them are. And like a lot of them even that aren't still have EDM genres on their lineup. And you can go into Denmark and you can drive from the bottom of Denmark to the top of Denmark in 5 hours.
Yeah.
So if you're a DJ that's touring,
Yeah.
if you wanted to, you could hit 6 shows in one day.
You could have a,
You
you could have a house there and just drive to all of them.
Yeah, you could hit 20 shows in a weekend just in one country. And then on top of that, if you book yourself right, you could hop to other countries that connect to Denmark. You could have a 30, 40 show month in just 1 to 2 countries just out in Europe, just doing whatever you want to do.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And like even if you look at the Teletech lineups and some of the like Rotterdam lineups and all the hard techno lineups in Europe, like you're still looking at the same 15, 20 hard techno DJs. And you're like, wow, you would think this would be a lot thicker in Europe, and you're like, okay, no, it's not. So
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm like, okay, there's only like a handful of really, 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 really big name hard techno DJs in Europe. Obviously, the waters aren't that deep, but maybe give it a shot.
Maybe it is.
Yeah, I was like,
it's all being served.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
I don't know. I'm just speculating, but yeah.
It could be a really small, cliquey
yeah,
Yeah, but
situation.
small in that situation is what, do you only fill out 5,000 person venues?
yeah, like what's
that would be-
small to
That would be the
European hard
biggest
techno
techno
DJ?
show in America.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm exaggerating, but it could be right up there.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, you know,
I mean, it
imagine
could
having a
also-
5,000 person hard techno show in Vancouver where we have a techno scene.
Yeah. And
I mean,
it
it's
could
not
also
huge,
go
but we
into
have-
that issue of the alcohol sales too. Is you have to fill out that many amount of people in order to make your money back from the ticket sales.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it in a bar
nope.
theoretically.
Not here.
Over there,
Maybe there they would.
Over there for
something
sure. I mean,
that's
I
gonna go
hate to
on
say they
still.
start drinking at 18. Like
Yeah.
drinking's in their blood. So
Exactly, yeah.
And
like,
it's not such a big like pull for them. I feel
Exactly.
like, you know, here in and maybe in America too, you've noticed a lot where it's like it's very exciting to go be able
yeah.
to drink. It's
Absolutely.
very exciting to have a drink, and alcohol is kind of
Even more
it's
exciting
like
to do
it's a
drugs.
thing to do.
Love
Like
it.
that is like it's not, hey, do you want to go out and like go catch some live music, maybe grab a couple drinks? It's like, no, hey, do you want to go out drinking tonight?
yeah.
And they like make it the main event, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Drinking,
that's
That's the activity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
I feel like in Europe, it's just like kind of a byproduct.
exactly,
It's there.
It's
It's,
just-
always
it's-
just
yeah.
around.
Yeah.
You know.
and it's always been around.
I don't know
Yeah.
how I'm going to wrap my head around that number. That's
We'll go
fucked.
sometime. I'll
Yeah.
take him.
I don't. I'm gonna be. I might have to check out of this podcast. I still can't
Yeah.
figure
He's
that out.
gone. Clicked off.
The math, I did the math on it. Like I was looking it up, and like eventually, I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was like 40 something festivals they have a week, and it's
Crazy.
it's insane.
Like, who are these
It's
people?
I don't
Yeah,
think you
but-
can. I don't. Honestly, I'd be hard pressed to think that America has 40 festivals a week. All of America.
I don't think we do.
I don't
I'd
feel like.
I'd want to look this number up because that is so wild.
Mm-hmm.
But like
In
what?
a country this big.
But then you got to go into the fact like, what do you consider a festival?
Sure, but a festival is like multiple genres, multiple days.
And
Let's just-
multiple-
Yeah.
or maybe not multiple. You could say
And multiple stages.
Multiple, we could say multiple genres, multiple
It could be a
artists.
single.
You know, because you could add a stretch called Foundations, which is what we
Mini
have here,
festival.
a mini
I
festival.
mean, Seasons was called festival.
Yeah, but that they do that over multiple days too. You know,
Yeah.
Seasons is
Oh,
over a
okay.
week, right? But they call it a festival, but it's like different shows at different venues, so it's not one venue. So these are like interpretations of festivals, and you could, even if we're stretching it
Mm-hmm.
and calling those things festivals,
In any
It's
case,
still a lot.
11,000
Or 1100,
it-
but yes.
or 1,100. Or was it? Did I say
11,000. I was like, wait a minute.
100.
1,100 festivals in a year.
Oh, I thought it was 11,000.
I mean, still 1,100 is still a lot.
Oh my god. Okay, now that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, 1100.
All right, now he fixed his brain just a little bit.
Now I can fathom it. We're coming back.
We're back on the
We're coming
train.
back.
And
Reality.
moving forward.
Yeah, okay. 1100. Okay, I can sort of understand that. That's like I can compute that.
But it's still in a country like the size of
like you said, it's 40 in a weekend. Like it's not. That's bonkers.
Yeah, and you can fit Denmark like in Texas like 3 times, like 2 times at least, maybe. Like,
totally.
so
yeah, it's like Denmark is like a third of.
Just a little itty bitty
Yeah.
baby.
Like it's tiny.
Yeah.
It's just maybe even less than
place.
that. Like honestly, it might even smaller than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's motivation for kind of like leaving Charlotte behind and going towards the bigger, instead of kind of
just
trying
finding
to
the audience, really. I mean,
finding the audience is
Finding the
one,
audience.
and I hate to say it. I mean, again, like I owe everything I know to Charlotte music scene, but Charlotte music scene is just incredibly toxic. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of little cliques that are very clicky. Like they will never let you in because they just don't fuck with you.
yeah, that's lame.
And I'm like, and then like, there's a lot of people just stepping on other people. There's a lot of people like down talking other people's shows because like they didn't get added to the lineup. And like, I mean, I'll admit I've fallen into that. Like I've fallen into the like, oh well, fuck you, I didn't get booked on that show and obviously I'm a better fit. Like fuck this show. And I'm like, obviously I can't keep doing that, and like that's not a good mindset to have. But I'm sure everyone gets jealous from time to time, and like I'm not sitting here shitting on every show that I'm not getting booked on. But like, if there's a clear hard techno show in Charlotte and like there's a DJ on there that just doesn't play hard techno, and be like, what?
And you're not there.
I'm like, that's a little weird. But I'm like, okay, obviously that was a click. That was a click choice and not a talent choice.
Yeah,
So
that's why you are almost forced to, produce your own shows.
yeah, exactly. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and it just gets to the point where I'm like, I feel like I shouldn't have to keep pushing my own shows just to play the genre I want to play.
Yeah.
And like, of course, I want to grow that in techno, or grow techno in Charlotte, because it needs the scene. Like the scene obviously needs to grow, but I'm not going to be able to single-handedly grow that techno scene by myself in Charlotte without doing things outside of Charlotte.
absolutely
And
the intention inward.
yes, and like I'm going to need to bring more people from outside of Charlotte to be like, holy shit, Charlotte's got a techno scene. Like Charlotte's really in the trenches with that stuff, and like let's go to Charlotte to go see techno. Like I want to be able to provide that, but I also want to be able to go and like I said, go to Europe and play like the true hard techno venues.
Yeah,
with
you would
the
have to
true-
work for like a fair amount of years
exactly. Like if I
grinding it out to get the scene to be big enough that
Where it
you're
is.
like,
that I'm satisfied with, like
Yeah.
okay, I can stick in Charlotte and just play
And
techno
it's
here.
sustainable, and you get
Yeah.
new things coming through all the
Yeah,
time.
and it's definitely nowhere close to sustainable right now.
That's
like,
what you
at
have to
all.
do sometimes. Is leave it to put a mark on the map.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing, if we look
Yeah.
at what Vantech is doing here with their club, and it's like dedicated to just techno, and they
Is
fill
it
it
hard
out.
technos or like just like
It's very it gets hard, but they'll do the range for sure.
Okay.
But they'll go as hard as you want.
Yeah.
Cool.
They have Richie Hott in there. They have Richie
sweet.
Hott in there, yeah. And
that's
this we're talking about a venue that when it's
some hard techno.
and this brings me to my point. When that venue is crammed,
Yeah.
it's got 250 people in it. So it's like
We have
you know what I mean?
venues like that.
So
Yeah.
that it's not a big space. It's not like they're filling out a 2,000 person venue every weekend.
Yeah.
Yes, it's full every weekend, but like I think with Richie Hott, I can't remember, but they said they had 350 people in there, and it was literally like a
shoulder-
sauna,
yeah,
sardine
shoulder-
cans.
Yep.
Like everybody was on top of each
Yep.
other. You couldn't dance. You're like this,
Yep.
Yeah.
and the sweat's coming off the ceiling. Just like like you're worried about the CDJs getting water damage. Like that's the environment that we're in.
That's the
Yeah, we
level.
have a club like that called Rebel, and it's just very, 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 very small venue. Maybe at max when it's crammed like 150 people.
Yeah.
And but it is like shoulder to shoulder sardines packed in there, and like it is just impossible to move
Yeah.
around.
So it's like, but it's
But
like
they're moving, so like they're actually taking care
Yeah,
of
I
that
think
issue.
Vantech's doing that too.
Yeah.
But the point is like when you have a club that's killing it with that specific genre.
Yeah.
What's the scale that they're doing it at, right? Like, so even if in Charlotte you're filling in your venue every weekend, but it was only 200 people, like,
Yeah. How big of an impact is that actually?
Yeah.
Sure, it's a big impact for your city, and sure, it's an impact for the scene that you want to grow, like locally. But like, 200, yeah,
Statistically
200 people in Charlotte isn't gonna like those 200 people in Charlotte. Maybe 10 of them will go up 3 cities up north to go find you and play hard techno again.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, cool, it's here and it's just right there.
Totally, yeah.
Cool, like that's great. But like, they don't look at it as like, oh, it's there too, and it's there too, and it's there too. It's only an hour and a half away. That's nothing. Like I'm not getting it here this weekend, so let's go up there this weekend because I know where I'm gonna get. Like no, they just wait.
I think at the I mean, if you were killing it doing that every weekend for whatever period of time, and then now there's like on an odd weekend there's going to be 2 or 3 other shows playing techno as well. You're like, oh, okay, now we've built the community. You know, and that's but again, it's going to take, you know, it's going to take a long time to do that, and who knows where even the genre is in 3 years. You know, maybe like the music that people who like that genre are listening to is going to be different then, and then is that going to be more palatable to more people, less palatable to more people?
You could find something else that you really resonate with, or other.
Because I think like if you, I mean, I'm going on a tangent, but that's what I do. That's my job here. She keeps us on track. I take us on tangents. You know,
it works well.
Yeah. So you know, if you look at internationally, the melodic techno, which I mean, that's a misnomer, but we'll just call it what it is. Melodic techno. You know, where was that 5 years ago? I mean, that genre was it was called dark progressive. But like the thing is, the way that sound has evolved now, and I've been actually thinking about this, is like when I listen to these big, huge melodic techno shows, I'm gonna keep doing that. Techno shows, what they sound like to me is like the big room sound of like 2011, 2012. And it's not the same
but
genre.
just darker.
It's not the same genre, but it's like where you have those like really big build-ups with massive like euphoric rocks.
Like,
and they're but darker. But it's progressive, let's be honest. You know, it's progressive.
That's the formula.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Whereas like the big room back in the day was more electro or electro house. This is progressive, let's be honest, guys. Can we let's have a discussion here?
All together now.
Yeah.
Let's agree on
but you know what I mean? Like, so to me, that's I think that's why it's so big, is that it's taking people who are into like, you know, maybe progressive is more of a what we can imagine as a niche genre. It's not really, it's pretty big. Yeah. But it's like taking that and then bringing it to more, I wouldn't say mainstream, but like people that I know that aren't like big music nerds will listen to like these big, huge, like, you know, Art Bat, Tale of Us songs and like be like, wow, that's awesome. They don't know they don't even know what they're listening to, but it's like because it just hits you like in the guts. Like, wow, you know, it's like,
well, it's taking that same formula. You know, of like the big drops, the euphoria, you know, the feel goods. It's just kind of progressing those people that were really.
It's a better version of it, and that brings me back.
They're more mature. They want to still be involved in the scene. They found that.
Yeah. So that brings me back to the point that I was trying to make, is that like even with hard techno, you know, maybe hard techno turns into something different in a couple of years that blows up. You know what I mean? And maybe the tracks that you produce blow it up.
That's what I'm trying to do. Like the weirder side of.
It's hard to you know, look at what's happening today and say that this is just going to be the same thing in a year or two. You know, it's an adventure. I mean, music is an adventure. That's why we do it. That's why we love it.
EDM is always progressing, though. It's always changing. It's always moving.
Constantly changing. And
I mean, there's a never-ending
country, but it seems like, you know, versus a genre like country that has stayed the same relatively over the past.
Yeah, I mean, it's the evolution's a lot more gradual.
I also don't know country, but that's what it seems like to me. Is electronic music is just on this trajectory where it's always going to be changing. Always
I mean,
going to be evolving.
It's you know, I mean, I always call the period between like 2009 to 2013 is like the golden age, but I feel like we're entering another golden age right now of electronic music.
Sign me up.
You know, it's really getting to the point where the amount of quality music out there is unreal. You know, and that, you know, and when you contrast that to what I would consider the dark age of 2014 to 2018, you know, it's just a great place to be in, to be honest. It's a great place to be in, for sure.
Definitely. There's so many things to look forward to. I think that really that new golden age that you're kind of talking about, I feel like it's really brought on by the type of music that is being put out by smaller independent artists, and also the accessibility of it people are able to go to different shows,
Yep.
produce their own music, put on their own events and stuff like that, and bring the genres that they really like into the spotlight. I feel like that's so much more accessible. And versus, 5-10 years ago, that was quite the case, maybe.
Yeah. 5 for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
in 5 years, where do you want to be?
In 5 years?
5 years.
Headlining Tomorrowland, playing hard tech.
Yeah, no, pretty much. Honestly, like, that's really it. I mean, not even like, God, not even like Tomorrowland. That's not even on like that my big of a goal like yet. Like I hate to just say it like this, but like doing what Nico Moreno does, like strictly hard techno shows around the world and just playing that sound. But I want it to be like my sound, obviously. And just consistently getting booked. That's pretty much it, really. I mean, like every DJ's dream of just like being able to travel, being able to go to these big name festivals, being able to be like on like your fat name, like right on the top of the lineup, and everyone just knowing you for your sound. So yeah, hopefully in 5 years I can just everyone just be like, oh no, that's definitely like a Monavent track. Like no, I can tell that's a Monavent track, and like that's all I want. I just want people to be like listen to it and be like at a different person show, like let's just say Nico Moreno dropping one of my tracks, be like, oh shit, Monavent track. Like
exactly like Monavent track.
Exactly. Like that's what I want. So
well, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. Please follow Monavent on all of his socials, because clearly 5 years he's going to be blowing up. He's going to be in your ears, on the sound waves, in festivals, in, where did we say, Denmark?
Denmark,
in the 11,000.
11 million festivals in Denmark.
There's 40 festivals every 3 minutes.
Every 3 minutes.
We look forward to having you back here on the podcast every single Wednesday. We have a very unique podcast coming up next Wednesday. We likely won't be streaming it, so make sure you follow us on YouTube and Spotify. Please follow us Instagram. You don't have a YouTube.
I do not have a YouTube.
SoundCloud.
I do have a SoundCloud.
Twitch.
I have Twitch, SoundCloud, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.
You heard the man.
Even though I'm not really active on Twitter like, at all. I'm not active on Twitter.
I did make an account. Oh, don't follow it. Okay.
Yeah, you do not have to follow my X account.
Your X account. There we go. So thank you all for being here, and we will see you again next week. Adios.
Thank you, guys.